Hey, this is Al. It's final words, final, non-final, inconclusive, conclusive, final words. We are here in Philadelphia at this haven we call the Kelly Writers House. This is our last live all-group interaction. There'll be some more Zoom stuff going on over the next weeks and months. I think Erica has a special announcement with respect to another office hour session. But anyway, let's just say this is it for this session. I only have one announcement other than the phone number. My announcement is that tomorrow, November 12th, in the year 2024, tomorrow, we will have two events that have been live streamed. One is a live, before a live audience, poem talk featuring Simone White, Erica Hunt, reader we were meant to meet, and Alden Nielsen, who's coming from California, and I'll be hosting that. So we're doing a poem talk about a poem by Tyrone Williams, the late Tyrone Williams, and that's at noon, and I will resend the link. And then the 6 p.m. will be a kind of a reading conversation, and that also will be streamed live. That's the only announcement I have. The phone number, we want you to ring this phone off the hook and do your final words from everywhere, 610-616-3208. Or you can Skype us at ModPo Pen, P-E-N-N, ModPo Pen, 2 N's. Laney, would you be willing to look at the comment stream?
Yes.
And Max, are you a comment stream type of guy? Okay, so Max and Laney. Thank you. Keep that coming. We want to do a lot of that today, so you can just feel free to interrupt me and tell us what people are saying. We have people in the room here, and we have lots of people watching. I hope they will call us for their final words. And, of course, we have the team here who want to offer final words. So in a minute, I'm going to call upon Allie to give the first set of final words. But before that, I just wanted to shout out a member of the ModPo community, as I will do here and there throughout this. And I think I want to start by shouting out Anne Jonglo, who is located on the west coast of Florida. And Anne participated this year. Are you ready for this? She signed up for ModPo in 2014. And she lasted 2 weeks. And the reason she lasted 2 weeks only is because she thought she was supposed to read every poem and watch every video and do it in order and take the quizzes and write the papers, even though I was probably writing every day saying, guys, do this a way that is comfortable for you. So she was not with us for 10 years and rejoined us in 2024. So she was 2 weeks in 2014. As I've complained in earlier webcasts, the Coursera folks did their data analysis suggests that she was a dropout, a failure. She didn't complete the course. There was a completion crisis. 10 years later, a lot of life has happened, she writes me in an email late last night, actually 2 a.m. Anne, you're up 2 a.m. And she got into it. She was ready to go. The symposium mode, everything was good. She got to week 4, and then a hurricane hit, and she had to leave her house in a hurry and was gone 5 weeks. So here it was again, 2014. She had to drop out after 2 weeks. 2024, it's time to drop out, but she didn't. At the same time, she had to move out of her house. She was caring for her ill husband and kept going with ModPo. Somehow managed to connect to office hours and webcasts. I knew from the first day that there was way too much for me to do it all. I did well sticking to the plan of doing what I could until I was displaced by both hurricanes, Helene and Milton. I think by that time I was already accustomed to attending office hours with Dave, Jason, and Erica. I knew there was a benefit to attending sessions even if I was falling behind in the work. And she goes on to tell me in this 2 a.m. message how ModPo for her is not just a refuge from the experience she was having, homeless, taking care of her husband a lot of the time, but it was also engaging her. So a refuge as well as a way of connecting. So Anne, here's to you. 2014, 2024, 10 years in between. We hope there's a 2025. Let's go to Allie, and as Allie's prepared to take the microphone, I just want to remind everybody to call 610-616-3208. Yes, be the first caller, 610-616-3208. And Natalia, grab the mic because you're on deck for final thoughts, even though it's not final for you since you're in a class that's going to go on for almost another month. Allie.
I just want to express a lot of thanks with my final words. First to you, Al, for just being the great convener.
I love that, the great convener.
That's great.
Putting it on my CV.
Yeah.
Al Flores, University of Pennsylvania, the great convener, otherwise known as TGC.
I think it sounds great.
Thank you.
Laney, for everything you do behind the scenes and all of your insight about poems and poets and what we do here. The CTAs who are just the beating heart of ModPo, all of my fellow TAs. It's always great to see your faces on Webcast. And I particularly want to shout out Jason, who I don't think is here right this second.
Yes, he is. He's at the table. He's here in the Arts Cafe.
My
yes.
eyes.
Yeah. Let's get a wider view. I'm sure we'll get Jason in there.
But Jason's office hour was always the evening before mine. And I think the discussions in your office hour, Jason, were so they just really stuck with people and would always bubble over into my office hours. And I really appreciated that like continuity and kind of hearing what was going on in a different office hour space. Chris and Zach, of course, and everyone who ever showed up to my office hour, whether that was, there's so many of you, and I don't want to list you by name because I'm afraid I'm going to leave someone out. But whether that was one time and you just came to kind of watch and listen, or if you were there week in, week out, it's just always, I think every year that space just gets richer and it continues to grow. And I just want to thank all of you for the space you all make and expand and fill.
Allie Castleman snaps for Allie Castleman, our dear ModPo friend. Allie, can you believe that this is the 14th time we've done this?
Kind of, but kind of not.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy.
It is crazy.
Quick take, one sentence. How is it different 14 years later?
In a way, I think we have a firmer idea of what our purpose is. I think, in 2012, I was kind of thinking about ModPo in respect to like improv this morning, because it's always just kind of like it was improv when we were sitting around the tables the summer of 2012, making the kind of what would become the original syllabus. It's always improv here, and it's improv in office hours. And the forums, that's all people just responding to each other. But yeah, I think the more people who have contributed to what we're doing here and to the conversation, I think maybe slightly paradoxically having more thousands and thousands of cooks in the kitchen has just made it clear like why we're doing this. Whereas in 2012, I think it was kind of like, we're doing this cool, interesting thing. Like, we'll see what happens. We'll see what works.
Thank you, Allie. Yeah, those were pioneer days. The bus is gassed up. It's running. Get on the bus. We don't know where we're going. The darkness surrounds us. Great. Thank you, Allie. Thank you so much for this decade and a half almost. We're going to turn to Natalia in a second. I just wanted to shout out to Kay Murphy, who I know is watching today, and to remind everybody to please call. I don't know why you're not calling. Maybe the phone line is broken, Chris, or you're on the phone with your grandmother again, blocking it. 610-616-3208. 610-616-3208. Kay Murphy is very important to us in ModPo. I didn't know this, but she not only has an MFA, but has taught in an MFA program. And she says, there was nothing in my education or in my own voracious reading that prepared me for these poems. She's referring specifically to the Week 8 poems. Totally amazing. And she says that she felt adrift after her retirement from teaching and then found us, right? And then there's this beautiful shout out to Laney, and we've got the tissues nearby. Some beautiful and loving energy exudes from Laney. It's true.
I was reading
Exudes is the key word
last
there.
night and just had the Kleenex.
Seriously.
Overwhelmed.
Yeah, you wanna call your sons and say, guys, look. I feel your children, I should say. I feel it even though Kay Murphy. Some beautiful and loving energy exudes from Laney. I feel it even through my phone screen, which is a huge accomplishment when you think about that, right? My goal next seminar is to go to her office hours. I don't know what has stopped me from going to office hours since I only hear raves. I also feel comfortable with the broad age range of the people in ModPo and the diversity of the participants. Thank you, Kay, for being part of the scene. Natalia is up, and let us go to Anthony on deck. But Anthony, before you go, would you take this bottle of champagne back into the kitchen? No, you don't have to take it. I'll open it. You just need to bring some plastic cups. Would you, for your final word? So, yeah, I'll have the honor of opening it. Yes, because I like to. It's going to be all over us, though. I'll have to get a new laptop. So what did I just say? Natalia's up, and why don't we go to Andrew on deck, and then we'll go to Anthony. Natalia, you have a mic?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I was doing our video for class yesterday, and I just had a moment that felt like it was really emotional, but felt like it was representative of my experience in ModPo. My friend, the video we did was emotional. We had read Just Walking Around together. Everyone had cried. And then...
Wait, you and your friends?
Yeah, for the
Natalia?
ModPo video. Yeah. And my friend said, do people have like normal friendships where they're not so emotional and dramatic? And then my other friend went, no, like poetry wouldn't exist if this wasn't what life was like.
Oh.
And she's incredible. And that moment just felt so perfect for everything that ModPo has been for me and for others. I think this past year has felt like there's so much that I can't make sense of, and I felt like there wasn't a way in the darkness to feel grounded, but ModPo and poetry has given that to me. And my friend said she never felt like poetry made sense to her, but this poem really touched her. And I think there's certain poetry that has touched me in the past, but this course has just provided a way to not just see the poetry as the meaning, but the meaning that we create together as like the thing that we're getting out of this. And I don't mean to overstate the impact of ModPo, but I think it has changed the course of my life in a way. And I have to thank all of you, Laney, you, Al, and Lila, and Sophia for that, and all of our ModPo folks online and in this class. Yeah.
Thank you, Natalia. We so appreciate you. That was really great. And you became a teacher. That was a teaching situation, wasn't it? All right, we're going to go to Andrew, followed by Anthony, who's here in the room. Andrew, hello.
Hello, good afternoon. I was thinking about what to say for today's session and kind of thinking about what I think ModPo is, and or in terms of this sort of like collectivization of attunement, and these are just some phrases I wrote down. the intensification of poetic circulation and social redistribution of enthusiasms, which is all to say that I kind of just wanted to use my little window to share something I really love, which is the conclusion to Myung-Mi Kim's book Commons. We never really talked about Myung-Mi Kim in this class, and I consider her really like so crucial to what I think about the poetic as a problem for thought and as a political threshold. So I just wanted to read, I'm just skipping around what is itself a kind of like circular fragmentary discourse. And Al, you can just cut me off if I need to stop due to time, but it should be okay, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, this is from Myung-Mi Kim's book Commons. It's the afterword to it, which I think has a title. Yes, it's called Pollen Fossil Record. Swerves, oddities, facts, miscues, remnants, threnody, and meditation, the perpetually incomplete task of tracking what enters into the field of perception, the writing act, its variegated and grating musics, cadences, and temporalities. The book emerges through cycles of erosion and accretion, velocity, the exultant and transitory glimpse of encounter, the inchoate, and the concrete coincide. To give form to what is remote, castigated, the necessity of carving out, intuiting, enacting one's own treatment of a particular arena of language, social and psychic identifications that disrupt and re-envision, to throw into question conventions of codifying, form as interplay of mobile elements actuated by the ensemble of movements developed within it. The comportment is one of experiment. The poem infiltrates, filters, avulses, nuance, and gradation. The contrapuntal, the interruptive, the speculative. What is English now in the face of mass global migrations, ecological degradations, shifts and upheavals in identifications of gender and labor? How can the dictions, registers, inflections, as well as varying effective stances that have and will continue to filter into English be taken into account? What are the implications of writing at this moment in precisely this America? How to practice and make plural the written and the spoken, grammars, syntaxes, textures, intonations. Counter the potential totalizing power of language that serves the prevailing systems and demands of coherence. Contemplate the generative power of the designation illegible coming into speech.
Thank you, Andrew, a lot. Thank you for being with us this season. And also, I love that comment at the beginning, or the phrase you used. I think it was social redistribution. And it's just, that's a really an important thought to think about. So thank you, Andrew. So Anthony, we're going to put you off just a little further, and the champagne. And we're going to do two things. We're going to ask Laney and Max to quote generously, amply from the thread. And Max, you guys are separated by a couple thousand miles, so just sort of go back and forth, starting with Laney, please. And then we're going to go to the phone. There's somebody on the phone.
Okay, I'll start us off. People are talking amongst themselves, so there's a whole conversation.
Social redistribution.
That's going on. I thought when the phone isn't ringing, maybe it's because everybody's having such a good time in the chat, and there's their own parallels that sometimes intersect with what's happening in this room. So I'm just going to start from the most recent and go backwards. Jane Ward writes, Ray Armentrout has become important to me this year. I enjoyed her work before, but now I am drawn to her in a new way. I'm also intrigued with My Life and Emily Dickinson. Denny writes, though very much about poetry, I don't think ModPo is about mainstream poetry, whatever that may be. And I think some folks forget that. Terry Talty gives a shout out to a poem written by Appy maybe that poems can be put into the chat or the thread to where the poem is. Let's see. There was a comment from Laura Littman about, and I don't have it right now, but about being a lifer, being a ModPo lifer, being uncertain, but then saying, yeah, I'm in.
All right, Laura, we're happy to have you. Max, got a few?
Yeah, there was a lot of enthusiasm for Allie's comparison of ModPo to improv. I'm going to just read a few other comments starting from the beginning, so from the other end where Laney just started from. Miranda Jubbs says, I'm going to miss our community webcasts. They seem to get better every year. We had Vijaya seconding Allie's comparison to improv writing, if I can find it here. Yes, Allie, it is improv, so it is also authentic. Denny Stern writes, improv as modernism? Question mark. Jane Ward says, ModPo is improv, exclamation point. Michael Glazer writes, first year being staff, thanks, Laney, Al, Anthony, Ken, Denny, etc. for all that you do. There's a few more, but I'll leave it at that for now.
Thank you, Max. All right, we're going to pick up the phone. And who do we have on the phone, Chris Martin?
I just want to make a quick note that the phone lines are busy, so there are operators standing by, but there is only one phone.
And why is that again? I'm still not sure why.
Just technical limitations. So,
have we ever bowed to technical limitations in this fucking setup?
We never have.
No,
so.
never. So what are you giving me?
Well,
14 years in, you can't figure out how to do 2 phones? What we really want is 3 phones and have them talk to each other.
Okay.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Join us for ModPo 2025.
Are you committing?
2024.
Zach, would you say it's possible? Thumbs up or down?
I don't understand the technology.
He's not committing.
He's
not the audio guy. Okay.
He's not a tech guy, he says.
Yes.
All
right. Who do we have on the phone?
That's a long way of saying that Anne is actually on the phone calling from St. Pete Beach.
Wait, Anne, whom I just talked about. Okay, bring her up. Hello, Anne.
Hello.
Did I do a good job summarizing your life there? Sorry.
Yes, you did. Although I will point out, I'm probably one of the few people on the west coast of Florida that was impacted by all 3 hurricanes that hit us this year.
What
Debbie
do you
in
call
August,
that,
and then
Anne?
Helene and Milton. Although Helene and Milton obviously were the really serious ones.
Well, I just honor you for having needing to move out of your house because of the hurricanes and sticking with ModPo. I mean, come on, that's great.
I just want to thank everybody who I've interacted with this session, because if it wasn't for the generosity and kind-heartedness of everybody in those office hours that I attended, I wouldn't have kept coming back. But it felt like home in the midst of all this turmoil that I was dealing with. So I really appreciate that. That, as I said in the email to you, I think it's the secret sauce of ModPo. All those interactions that happen. And just while I was waiting on the phone, I thought of a Wallace Stevens poem. I believe it's called "The Antidote of the Jar."
Anecdote of the Jar.
I'm not where I can look that up because I'm only connecting through my phone right now. But it starts out something like, "I placed the jar on a hill in Tennessee, and the wilderness surrounded it."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really bad at quoting lines of poetry, so there's probably a lot missing there. But that idea of how one thing changes everything in the environment,
Yes.
I think is appropriate for
Wow.
describing Mod. You
So-
know, you bring your experience to a poem, and then you take it away. You take that poem and incorporate it into you, and there's that recursiveness every time you come back to it.
That's brilliant.
And I think that's what makes ModPo great, and why I'm going to continue. So
Thank you, Anne.
maybe
You-
another tip.
I'm going to draw. So the jar, we place a jar. The jar is ModPo, and we've placed it in the midst of climate change-induced hurricanes. And so while the jar can't survive the hurricanes, it can provide you a form or a structure for dealing with it and understanding the relationship between what we make and the world that we exist in. I think that's a good analogy to what ModPo is trying to do. I also want to make a kind of analogy from your started in 2014, did 2 weeks, and came back 10 years later. I want to think about life that way. I think for most of us, thankfully, life is long. So if you can't try, if something doesn't work in 2014, just wait 10 years. There'll be a moment. I swear there will be a moment. Just come back. I wish that everybody who tried in 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015 felt daunted, wasn't the right time of life, the job sucked, no time, etc., and then gave up and never came back. I wish they would understand, or they would feel that you can find people if you just wait until there's a moment when you're ready to find them. Anyway, Anne, here's to 2025, okay?
Okay.
All right,
Thank
pal.
you.
Take care. Stay dry. Thanks. That's 610-616-3208. We're going to turn to Anthony. Can we get a mic to Anthony? Okay, so Anthony is an original, a ModPo original, right? You were part of the 2012 crew. You were here for Final Words. There was a big crowd that day, and there was a whole crew that came up from D.C. together. And you were part of the Breakfast Club, the D.C. Breakfast Club back then. And so was John Knight, and I know that you want to say something about your experience and also about John. And while you're doing that, I'm going to open this giant bottle of champagne in honor of John, and a few of us are going to have a little sip of this champagne.
Yeah, and I brought one at the 2012, and so here's another bottle.
And I have the cork that you
From the
gave
original?
me. So the 2012 bottle of champagne had a cork, and at the 10th anniversary celebration of ModPo, you brought the cork, and it's up on my desk.
Excellent, very good. So basically ModPo's been a fantastic community builder, not just online, but also in person. So we had a group of people in 2012 meeting at a coffee shop every Saturday talking about poetry. And through the evolution of the years, it's just continued. So we still meet every Saturday. After COVID, we've gone online. But there's still the core people since all the way back to 2012 that still meet.
That's amazing,
every
right?
Saturday and talk about poetry.
Everybody hearing that? 2012, people with busy lives, Saturdays, poetry, ModPo.
And the sad thing is that John won't be able to make this one. Unfortunately, he had passed away. And so, we can give a toast to him in his memory.
The miracle of John Knight. John was a Quaker, a pacifist, something of an anarchist, a peace lover. He was an organizer, and he found ModPo. And over the years, the beard got longer and longer, and the hair, the suspenders, and he would walk in miraculously, right? You want to tell the story of John Knight walking in on us?
Yeah, there was one time where you were I think you were reading something they had posted, and you were talking about it, and then as you were mentioning it, he comes walking in through the door with the suspenders and everything, and there's John. So quite spectacular.
I mean, this is
timing.
true. I was quoting something that John Knight had written about peace.
Yeah.
He had this idea that ModPo models peace because of the way that people learn how to talk to each other. I love it. Seems a little grand, but that's what. And I was talking about it. He walks in the room from Washington, D.C. We have champagne. Can you pour me one so we can toast John Knight? Everywhere where you are. So this would be for a lot of people. For Max, it will be the evening, and for people in Australia, it's the next. It's 1:30 and 12:30 in the morning. Maybe for the folks in Europe, you're in the perfect spot for champagne. Here, it's just a little afternoon, and there's going to be some ModPo people out there right here who want a little. Can we pass that around? Yeah. Yes. I'm not going to wait till everybody has a cup, but I will toast to John Knight, to the memory of John Knight, to the beautiful idea that John had, that what we do when we converse about something that is difficult, a difficult poem, we enact the overcoming of difficulty, not eliminating the difficulty, but accepting it and sharing in it. And that's the definition of peace. Here's to John Knight.
Cheers.
Cheers. That's pretty good. All right, so we have somebody else on the phone. Is that correct? All right, so we're going to go to Erica after the phone, after someone on the phone. So let's hear, who do we have, Chris?
Our good friend Stanley is calling in.
Stanley from New Mexico. Hello, Stanley.
Yes, I turned down the, oh yeah, ein Prosit. Here we go. My you know, I don't know what. Are you there, Al?
Yes, yeah. You broke up a little. You want to try it again?
Yeah, I broke up because I'm trying to read where you are on the screen, and I turned down the screen.
Yeah,
so
don't do that.
You're just doing the drinking right now.
Yes, no, we've passed the drinking, but I'm doing it again. So this is a time warp. I'm drinking now, Stanley.
Okay, so for Max, thank you for keeping that European time zone going, and it's been really, really, really eclectically good. And I really want to give a huge shout out to Jason, and I'm so glad he's sitting right next to you. And the shout out is, I finally clicked with Gertrude Stein through the Geographical History of America.
Wow!
And
you're getting
that was all
here.
because what's that?
You're getting praise over here. How long have you been in ModPo? Years.
2014, I think, or maybe even before that. Well, anyway, Linda Roller said to me, "You might want to tune in with this guy Al, and you might enjoy it." And she was right. I've been here ever since.
You're the best, Stanley. Thank you.
But I never got Gertrude Stein till this year when Jason, we did a marathon night of the Geographical History of America, and you remember that, Jason?
Oh yes, I do. I because my little dog knows me.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Jason.
Yes. Anyway, so I immediately got the book, and I'm still trying to figure it out, actually. But what I love about ModPo, this is what I really love about ModPo, is every single discussion is new. You may have talked about the poem, for 12 years, but it turns out cool.
Mm. Love that, Stanley.
And I just really want to thank you and Appy and her wine hours, and we've got a whole family all around the world.
We do.
It's all because you and Chris decided to put something together in 12.
Well, we are going to give Chris a final word. He's going to say something about that. Stanley, thank you so much for calling. I'm going to ask you to hang up and listen to our responses after that, but you be okay, all right?
I'm out of here.
All right, you're out of here.
We got 25 degrees this morning.
Ooh, I want to be there. You up in the mountains, I think. Yeah. Thanks, man. That's great. That's Stanley in New Mexico, and so Appy in Prague is having wine hours with someone in New Mexico. That's like a time difference. Whoa. Okay. We're gonna go to Erica, and we're gonna have Gab on deck.
Hi. I had to get my little dog.
Lola is not happy.
Huh?
Lola is not happy. What happened?
No, she's happy. She's just happy to see everybody. But for my final words, I want to thank Al, and I also want to thank all the folks that come to my office hours every week. It's been it's been a rough fall, particularly for me this year, and I feel continuously grateful for the community. But really, I wanted to use my time to ballyhoo some Linhaginian, if that's okay, kind of following along what Andrew did. In particular, and Laney knows this, but I've been very obsessed is maybe a mild term for how I've been feeling, but Linhaginian had this book called Tribunal come out in 2019. And at the center of the book is a sequence of sonnets that I just keep reading over and over again because it feels they just feel really prescient, given that, I'm assuming, I don't know for sure, that they were written during Trump's last presidency. And I've just been finding this work really helpful and important, particularly given our last webcast and how much different moments from the rejection of closure kept coming into our conversation. And that was true from the week before with Charles. So if it's okay, I'm going to read sonnet number 51 from Tribunal.
Thank you.
And the sequence, this section of the book is called Time of Tyranny. 51. To discover time, to be conscious that the present is and does change the air as a pebble can't between the crenellations of a castle in the captured air, is to crash into oneself. It's fantastic, a fantasy with the fandom fanning a fan in the form of a hand splayed to move the foul air of timelessness. Wandering in waves is the fate of personality, which, like the octopus, is as smart as me, but with less shape than the foothills of Mount Etna once seen across a bay, on which the ships of tyranny went from left to right to impose tedium, an interesting phenomenon, foundational to feeling. It won't be wasted. Haste is a scourge, but a very small implement. Speeding is a needle incapable of penetrating time, which is carved in great detail into ephemera, which linger with patience and are inevitable and inevitably strong. And the reason why I picked that particular sonnet is I feel as though it says something akin to one of the projects of ModPo, as I understand it, which is to really value writing that's unusual and kind of rewires the way that we think, and the importance of being in community around language, particularly in moments that are not easy, and being in community around language, particularly poetry, with people who are everywhere, which is one of the things that ModPo does. So thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you so much. I just so love working with you in this and some other ways that kind of connect. And we've been working together closely for a long time, and this is just these autumn connections really sustain us for the year. So I'm speaking personally, but yeah, I know it's been a rough fall for you in all kinds of ways, and I'm glad you're making it through. I hope you can make it through, and you have my cell phone on speed dial, so call anytime.
Yeah, and thank you, Al. I'm endlessly grateful for this opportunity and, to be part of this community, which, as Al is saying, really kind of buoys me through the fall. So I'll be quiet now, but thank you all, and thanks to everybody who makes the course what it is.
Hey, Erica, did you have something to say about an office hour?
Oh, yeah. So last week, and I did this last year, and it was a great amount of fun. We pretended that we were Al at the end of Poem Talk and did a Gathering of Paradise office hour where people come with either something super short to share or a recommendation of some kind. It could be a book, it could be a movie, it could be a podcast. And that's all we do. Everyone who comes shares something, and I collect the recommendations and put them in the thread afterwards. So I'll have an extra office hour on Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time.
Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And will you send me that link or reminder anyway? I'm sure that will result in a lot of people, but I'm sure Zoom can handle it.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Erica. We're going to turn to Gab, and then we're going to get a video final word from Sophia, who couldn't be here but made a video for us. Zach, are we set up to do that? Yeah, okay. All right, so here's Gab. Hello, Gab.
Hello.
You brought some friends with you the other night.
I did.
Why did you bring them?
That was the day the election results came out, and we were all talking about how we needed community and each other that day. So I figured that this would be the perfect space. And they haven't been participating in ModPo at all, but I love these webcasts just because you never know where the conversation might go. So I wanted them to be welcomed into that. They had a great time.
They look like they had a great time.
Yeah. I have so many words, and I feel like they'll be coming out over the next few weeks in different ways. But I guess to start, I quit my full-time job in March to pursue poetry, and then I started a very part-time job at a new restaurant, and I was talking to my coworkers about that desire, and they were like, oh, you should meet Al. He does a poetry class. And in my mind, I genuinely thought it would just be like a weekly Zoom call with a few Philly people. And I was like, great, fantastic, I'm there. And as I found out more about Al and about ModPo, it unfolded itself to be what it is now. And it's so much more than what I ever could have imagined. And it still feels surreal. So to say final words feels wrong because this will stay with me in different ways forever, and I want to be doing this forever. So I just appreciate the fact that this space and all the people have welcomed me in at a time in my life where I really needed poetry in this very specific way. And I appreciate the nature of a project that is continuously evolving and needs the people that are a part of it to make it what it is. I think one of the highlights has been seeing the TAs that have stayed for 14 years and to see the relationships that you've maintained over your time from starting this. And little anniversaries like the wine cork that you have, those things kind of prove that, as a lot of the poems we've talked about have been saying, like, time is a construct, and projects like this make it feel a lot longer and more meaningful than we allow ourselves to believe.
Gab, thank you so much. Snaps for Gab. So glad you're part of this community now, ongoingly, permanently. So we're going to get, thank you, Gab. We're going to get a video from Sophia, and that'll be followed by Max for final word. Here's Sophia. Zach? There she is.
Hi, everyone. I couldn't be at the webcast live, so I filmed this video so I could still say my thanks and my goodbye for this season. So here goes. These are my final words. I think poetry has a wonderful way of allowing us to find some sort of way through the mess, the horror, the fear, the unimaginable. I don't think poetry will magically make everything better, but the manipulation of words, like all the words we read in ModPo, gives me a glimmer of hope that we have tools around us every day, our spirit, our courage, our love, our language, which we can deploy against any coming evil. However, maybe utility is not the thing I want or need right now. Maybe I just need something shiny, pretty, ugly, personal, scary, small, big, unsayable to distract me from the affront that is production and work. Maybe poetry can just be this thing that brings us to this room every week for these webcasts, where we convene, laugh with each other, learn from each other, think respectfully and empathetically about what everyone else has offered and said. Poetry isn't really the thing that happens in ModPo. The conversation is the thing that happens, swirling around the subject of our meeting. Maybe poetry is for finding people who care about the things you care about, who say something you've been scared to say out loud. Maybe poetry is for Barbara Nilsson, who mailed me her thesis so I could read it because I said I was interested. Maybe poetry is for laughing with the tech crew in an oddly American dive bar in Montreal. Maybe poetry is for finding mentors like Al and Laney, who have not only made me a better writer, but a better person. Maybe poetry is a way to invite us to each other, and I think that's enough for me right now. I wanted to say thank you to everyone on the ModPo team and every ModPo citizen across the world. I love you guys.
And we love Sophia. Yes, the tissues. We're on our way to the tissues. Max, we're going to turn to you in a second, but I want to quote appropriately from a beautiful final thought that follows from what Sophia said by Olga Gospodinova. Olga writes, "In dark and uncertain times, the world needs poetry and art more than ever. Seeing all of you on the live stream last Thursday, that would have been last Wednesday, the day after the election, was heartbreaking. Yet what gives me hope is knowing that communities like this one exist and will continue to gather in various ways no matter who is in office. We may be heading in the direction of global democratic decline in the next few decades, but I would like to think that nothing will change in terms of our inner drive to take solace and create beauty around us in whatever ways we can. This course has taught me that each reader brings something new and vibrant to the poem's endless tapestry of meanings, creating an experience as diverse and colorful as the poem itself. You get lost in this glorious undertaking of meaning making, which somehow, instead of making you feel scared or distraught, is actually helping you find yourself bit by bit along the way. I've learned to liberate myself, to make things up, to embrace pleasure in the unknown, in the how I choose to see and even live my life regardless of circumstance. How you say something matters even more than what you say. I'm reminded of the phrase, say what you mean, but don't say it mean. Thank you, Olga. Okay, we're going to turn to Max, and we will have Margot on deck, and please call. Chris is getting lonely back there, 610-616-3208. All right, Max, you're on.
Everybody has had such lovely and eloquent final thoughts so far. I really like what Andrew said at the top of the hour about the redistribution of enthusiasm. I appreciated having or this fond remembrance of John Knight and what John had to say about a kind of ModPo diplomacy. I have very, very vivid memories, I'm sure like some of us, of the first final word session 11 years ago.
Well, the first one was
12 years ago.
14.
At being in the room there in the Arts Cafe with so many folks who had come far and wide to join us there. It's truly an incredible standout memory. I see it so clearly. I honestly, if you had told me back then that we would be doing this, via Zoom, or remotely 12 years in the future, I don't know if I would have necessarily believed it. So it's rather incredible. It's definitely a testament to the project, to the enthusiasm of the team, the dedication. I want to quickly shout out as many people as possible who came to my office hour and or who participated in the European time zone meetup group. There's been so many great participants, so many fantastic discussions over the weeks. Shout outs to Vijaya, Stanley, Liam, Laura, Yunia, Yulia, Terry, Rosanna, Mike, Ray, Mark, Mary, Jenny, Barbara, Martin, Api, Jeroen, Mona, Laura, Paul, Miranda, Kurt, Anna, Matthias, Tatiana, and if I forgot you, I'm so sorry. I tried to do my best to gather as many folks together as possible here. There's something almost kind of lovely about there being so many people coming in and out of these spaces that you almost can't even keep track of it. The network is larger than any of us can actually grasp at any point, which is, I think, one of the things that keeps us coming back, and one of the things that makes ModPo, as we've all been alluding to, a kind of light in the darkness, in the sort of surrounding darkness, right? Again and again, year in and year out.
Thank you, Max. Does anybody have any snaps or claps for Max McKenna, the great Max McKenna? There's lots of snaps going on. Max, my two favorite Al-Max convergences in all the years we've known each other, and we've known each other a long time. Number one would be singing Bob Dylan's I Shall Be Released here in the Arts Cafe with 4 guitars and harmonies. We were good.
We were pretty damn good.
I can sing I Shall Be Released. Yes.
Sing it.
We can't with the latency with the Zoom. It's going to be an absolute.
That's it. Latency is the problem.
Let's not submit anybody to that.
Down here beside me in this lonely crowd.
Thank you.
Okay, and the second favorite convergence, Almac convergence, last May in Berlin. Thank you. Jane and I came, and you showed us a great time, and it was really fun connecting with you. Really fun.
Likewise. Yeah, it was fantastic.
All right.
It was lovely.
Yeah, that's Max in Berlin. We're going to turn to someone on the phone. Chris, are you ready to go to the phone, or should we go to Margot first? Okay, we got someone on the phone, and then Margot. Who do we have?
We have Suzanne calling from South Carolina.
Ah, Suzanne Miller. Hello.
Hi, Al. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for all of your efforts and your energy in ModPo. Wow.
I can't thank everyone enough for everything they do. And year after year, I mean, I'm just a sophomore here. And that was I thought it would be overwhelming or a little less, and it wasn't because there's so much more. But I was down at the Congaree Swamp over the weekend, and we were in a drought, and then we had the hurricanes, and then we had absolutely no rain until this past week. So things flooded again, and I was looking at all of these tangles of vines and trees and detritus on the forest floor. And just like ModPo seems to follow me everywhere, ModPo, I looked at this and I thought it's like ModPo. We have all of the interconnected people from all the different places and this ecosphere of poetry and community. And it was just overwhelming. And then in the middle of all of this, there was this huge metal box, and I couldn't figure out what the heck it was doing there. And it was an old abandoned still. And I thought that was just like some of the things in the curriculum, that out of nowhere, all of a sudden, this weird thing shows up. We've got a urinal. And it's, Erica does a fabulous job of trying to guide me in her office hours through all of the bumps and mind torquing things. And I just feel so blessed to have been brought into this community where a year after the fact, someone like Mark Bosch responds to a thread I started a year ago that nobody had ever responded to.
That was wild. Yeah, that is really cool. That is a testament to the fact that the conversations go on. Sometimes people respond to comments that were made in the thread 6 years ago. It's so weird. Suzanne, Suzanne, I just wanted to say you have... Go ahead.
No, it's just, I just feel so lucky that I found you all and that you were here, not just during symposium, but then you kept nourishing me in the drought season. You had sleepos and there were connections I had made with individual ModPovians. And you're all just so wonderful, and I feel so lucky.
Thank you, Suzanne. You are wonderful, too. You bring so much energy and brightness to us. Thank you. Thanks so much for calling. And will you hang up, and then we'll allow somebody else to call, and have a great day, and thanks again. So the number is 610. All right, take care. 610-616-3208. We're going to turn to Margot, and Kate will be on deck.
Well, the first thing I wanted to say...
Hi, Margot.
Hello. This class has really changed the way that I view learning. I feel like I've never been one to, I'm, talking about a class outside of it or, looking forward to actually going to class. And my friends are kind of sick of me talking about this class, hearing me talk about it. They're like, we get it. But it's really something I look forward to. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm excited. I can't wait for class. And that's never really happened to me before.
Never?
No. Never. So I'm really
What's
grateful.
wrong with education that it's never happened?
But I think it's because of the community that this class has formed. Everyone cares so much about the class, wants to be there, and has such amazing insight and information to share. And I don't think I'll ever be able to walk down the street normally again. I just can't help but observe everything, and I think that's thanks to this class.
That's so cool, Margot. Just walking around, Margot. Yeah, you're smiling at yourself and mumbling a little bit. That's very cool. Thank you. Thank you, Margot. We're going to turn to Kate, and I'll ask Abby to be on deck. Hello, Kate.
Hi, everyone. I haven't pre-prepared any statements, but I've been involved with ModPo in one way or another since 2013, and it's been such a privilege to witness it change and its tentacles extending into so many new realms over time, and also to watch friendships form between the participants. Last Tuesday, I had my office hour, and I could just feel the need for connection and conversation on that day. And after the hour, I had to go attend to a few things, but I left my meeting open, and there were 5 or 6 people in my office hour who just stayed there for an hour and a half, just talking and unloading on each other. And I'd stick my head in once in a while.
That is such a cool idea. Why don't we do that more often? You don't need a ModPo TA to have a office hour.
I mean, we were all looking for distraction that day, and it was just one small thing I felt like I could do for the people who showed up to not end the conversation. But I feel honored and flattered to be a TA for ModPo, and to be included at this level in the conversation. And there were so many highlights this year, but of course I have to mention Montreal, which was just a beautiful 3-day convocation, and we had such a good time and a lot of laughs, and that feels very long ago now, but I'm grateful for that time. And to you, Al, and especially to Laney, with whom I've been teaching the LPS class, one of the attendant arms of this course this semester, and it just always feels great to be teamed up with her and working together.
Feeling is mutual, Kate.
Content repeatedly. So I am feeling a little maudlin lately, and I have had Wallace Stevens stuck in my head. I'm glad Anne read some Stevens earlier. And I this week have realized how distracted I've been in recent years, and how I haven't moved away from poetry, but I just haven't had the time and mostly the attention to give to it that I used to. And I want to change that. And I've had the line, "How high the highest candle lights the dark," stuck in my head for days, and sort of thinking of that as, I want to get back to that highest candle. So I thought I might read Final Soliloquy of the Interior Paramour, and I'm sure it's been read in this context before.
As far as I know.
What's that?
No, it's great. Please.
I mean, it really describes our community.
Wallace Stevens.
Yes, sorry, Stevens. Final Soliloquy of the Interior Paramour. Light the first light of evening, as in a room in which we rest, and for small reason think the world imagined is the ultimate good. This, therefore, the intensest rendezvous. It is in that thought that we collect ourselves, out of all the indifferences, into one thing. Within a single thing, a single shawl, wrapped tightly round us, since we are poor, a warmth, a light, a power, the miraculous influence. Here, now, we forget each other and ourselves. We feel the obscurity of an order, a whole, a knowledge, that which arranged the rendezvous. Within its vital boundary in the mind, we say God and the imagination are one. How high that highest candle lights the dark. Out of this same light, out of the central mind, we make a dwelling in the evening air, in which being there together is enough.
Kate Colby, thank you so much. We love you. We're glad you're with us. We are honored also. We're going to turn to Abby, but 2 shout-outs before Abby. Abby, you getting the mic? Yeah, okay. First, our friend Ali Arsanjani, who's in San Diego, or at least Mom is in San Diego, and Mom, Mariam. I'm so pleased that they continue to be with us. This is a, mom-son combo. And I just want to tell you about Mariam's project called Poetic Weavings at Moonlight Beach. I think it's in Encinitas, but it might be San Diego. Yes, it's in Encinitas. And what they used to go for walks. I think this might have started during the pandemic. Anyway, walks. And on that particular beach, people pick up these stones. The beach is covered with these beautiful stones of different shapes. Zach, I don't know how you can handle this, but I'm holding it up to see if this works. Oh, look at that. You're so good. Okay, I'm about to pull that down in a second, but there it is. So that's a photo of rocks, stones that people on the beach in Encinitas, they just write little things. Peace, I love me, love one another, I am healthy, I am alive, etc. And what Mariam's project does is she just goes to these rocks and she writes poems from those words, and she boldfaces the words that she picked up from the poem. So it's a site-specific project. It's something of an aleatory project, and I just wanted to shout it out. And if anybody encounters this project, Poetic Weavings at Moonlight Beach, I hope you will take a very, very close look. She is ready to publish her book, so look out for it. And one more shout out before we turn to Abby, and this is beautiful and a bit heartbreaking, from Sekar Banerjee. Sekar describes himself as a bureaucrat living in Calcutta. He's also a poet, and he describes ModPo as the best curated course on poetry. Yay. And then he talks about his last 10 weeks. For the last 10 weeks, I've been following, participating, reading the poems, and engaging in the discussion, mostly while commuting between home and hospital, home and office, office and hospital, or during early morning and late night at home. Even while waiting at the daycare facility for my wife's chemotherapy sessions to start and end, and then going home, or even when I'm alone in my office, I can trace the duration of ModPo from my wife's 5th to her 8th round of chemotherapy, along with 5 initial rounds of targeted therapy for breast cancer. By the grace of God, she is recovering now. In the meantime, ModPo and poetry have been my only lifeline to everything beautiful, aesthetic, and singularly soulful. My children live far away, and I am the primary caregiver. During this challenging time, ModPo became my center of being, helping me hold everything in place, and most importantly, hold on to myself. So that's Sekar Banerjee, and you will see Sekar in the forums, and please reach out to him and encourage him to stay with us. He says at the end something about how ModPo is, you can't escape the energy of ModPo, the packed schedule of ModPo, the endless assignments. Are there endless assignments? The lively discussion, the dedicated teaching assistants, the sensitive mentors, the visiting poets and academics, the treasure trove of an archive, the visuals of the beautiful Kelly Writer's House, and Al's stern reminders. The fuck, stern? I needed all of these to stay centered. Thank you, ModPo, for everything. Thank you, Sekar, for being so frank. Hang on. Well, Abby, you got to follow that. Hello, Abby. And then we have someone on the phone after Abby.
On? Yes. Oh gosh, what am I meant to say? Final words?
Anything you like.
No, I don't want them to be final. I've had such a great 10 weeks.
Make them non-final.
Non-final, okay. And
how are you
continue
feeling?
I feel better. I didn't attend class on Thursday. I wasn't in the mood. I was mourning the loss of a country I once knew. A country that I thought I knew. So I'm glad to be back today. I'm glad to be surrounded by the community, which I love. And I'm glad, like Al said, this isn't the end. This isn't final words. I think this is just the beginning of something beautiful, the beginning of a new relationship I have with poetry. And I like to thank Laney Brown, for one. Laney, I took her, I think it was like intro to poetry class, something very subliminal, but it ended up being a wonderful class, and I made so many friends, and that's the first time that I read My Life by Lynn. And I remember thinking there's a beautiful subtlety to this. So many words encompassed in such beautiful writing, and I thought to myself, I want to be like this. I want to write like this. And I've tried to mimic Lynn's work, of course. I haven't been able to. But I think it's, sometimes I find mimicking, I guess, or just trying to elaborate on someone else's work to be beautiful. And I think I've done this with all of my friends in here. We were told to comment on our discussion posts in class, and I always find myself just trailing to one of my fellow students' work, and I comment on theirs, and I go to them in class, and I go, Tina, that was so great. I loved your discussion, or Margot, that was so epic. And again, I'd like to thank Margot as well, because Margot's really leading the class. I think Margot's like a pseudo TA. She loves that cup. And I don't know what I'm saying right now, but I think community is the biggest word, or like the strongest word that I've heard in these last few days, the last few weeks and moments. So
Thank you, Abby.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Chris, do we have someone on the phone?
We do indeed. Yulia is actually on the line as we speak.
Hello, Yulia. Can you hear me?
Sorry, we lost her. She's calling back.
Okay. All right. So we're going to turn to Dave Poplar. Sorry I didn't put you on deck there, Dave, but Dave is up and Tina will be on deck.
I usually don't make these final words webcasts, but I really wanted to make this one just to say thank you to everybody. And like Kate, I have always felt super honored and flattered to be a part of this. And I just wanted to thank everybody who's involved, everybody in the staff and with the tech, but all of the students and the people who participate. And I just want to thank everybody for keeping to make it new, to make it alive, especially people who have come to my office hours. I really want to thank and thank you and tell you how much I appreciate you. And also, just as a general note to everybody, please don't ever lose sight of how much your participation and contribution contributes to everything and to everybody learning. I learn something new I learn a lot of things new every year, every single office hour session I have. And it's because of each person's contribution and participation that we all learn and go together, and this has become so vibrant and something so much more than what people typically think of when they think of a class or a course. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody.
Thank you, Dave Poplar, also an original ModPoer from the recordings in May and June 2012. And I just want to, Dave speaking gives me an opportunity to say something about those original videos. We didn't know what was going to happen when we launched. We had no idea. We put the 10-week, we had no ModPo Plus, it was just one syllabus. And we put it out there, and we had crude webcasts, but nothing as fancy as this. We did webcasts. We didn't do office hours, synchronously. It was very primitive in a way. But one thing we discovered, and Dave puts me in mind of it, is that once people started to watch those videos of the same crew talking about poem after poem, it created what some people call a kind of reality TV effect. I'm not a big fan of reality TV, except for the fact that the different characters, everybody's sort of, nobody gets kicked off the island in ModPo. And people starting in September, we had 42,500 people sign up for that first fall, and almost all of them were active. So it was nuts. And the forums weren't really technically set up very well, so they kept crashing. And one thing we noticed is that people identified with the points of view of various ModPo TAs. For instance, Anna Strong Safford was sort of so forcefully modernist, pro-modernist, that people who didn't like modernism didn't tend to identify with her somehow. And so everybody had their own point of view. Suddenly I turned to Max during Gertrude Stein and I said, without any warning, Max, you lead the discussion. He wasn't ready. He took my seat, ran the discussion, and was brilliant. And all the people, tens of thousands of people, were like, how could he do that to Max? Max did so well. Max is better than Al. Long live Max. Down with Al. And it was like, and Dave Poplar immediately had what I would describe as a following, although that's not quite the right word. People identified with Dave's common sense approach, his willingness to be a dissenter, his straightforwardness, and that personality came through. And of course, it's real. That's who Dave Poplar is. It isn't just some kind of performance. And I've always admired that, Dave. You're terrific, and I'm glad you're here. And so thank you. All right, we're gonna turn to Tina in a second, but we have someone on the phone, and who is it?
Yulia is back on.
Yulia, okay. Hello, Yulia. How are you?
Hi from Amman, guys. How are you?
We're great. Do you have a final word for us?
Yeah, I thought that I just have to call in during this webcast and really thank you all. And it's so interesting that you were just talking about the original ModPoers, because exactly I had the same experience. Although I think my identifying person was Amaris. I loved her statements all the time.
Yeah.
But this ModPo was really special for me because, first of all, of course, thank you so much for the book. I actually brought it here with me to Jordan. The Difference is Spreading.
Nice.
And I really wanted to thank Max for his office hours. That was incredible. I've never participated in office hours before, and I loved every second of it, like the whole brainstorming. And I also, what happened, my work has nothing to do with poetry or literature, unfortunately. But I have to say, every single time, I ask ChatGPT to write me like a project proposal for a water infrastructure development approach in Zambia, I always set a persona for it that also says, yes, imagine you have a degree in poetry from UPenn.
What?
So that's that from my side. Yeah, and it gets amazing responses. So
wait,
thank you so much.
ChatGPT can assimilate all the data enough to construct a point of view that would represent poetry at Penn. Okay. Wow. I'm a little creeped out by that, because that means that there's so much public stuff, so much discussion. The forums are not public, but a lot of other stuff is. And so it's all getting gobbled up and it can be reproduced. Wow. Anyway, you're doing good work. It may seem non-poetic, but the work you do, Yulia, for this world, we appreciate it. And we appreciate you. So thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Have a good day. That's Yulia. I'm going to ask, if another call comes through, great, but I think after that, in the interest of time, that'll be the last. So we're going to go to Tina, followed by Jason.
Yay.
Hi, Tina.
Hi. I'll keep it short because we have many more weeks, but I'm so grateful to be in this class, and I'm glad I found it my senior year, when I feel like all of these past 3.5 years have informed the way I approach learning and participating in community. And I feel like this class has just given me the words to describe and understand what I've been feeling for a very long time now. So.
Wow. Okay, that's a lead into a conversation that I guess we're going to have in the next few weeks. Fantastic. Thank you, Tina. Let's go to Jason, followed by Chris Martin.
Hey, everybody. Just a note for people who are in my Wednesday office hour, I have the photos to send you of the kind of improvised visual poems we made out of words you found around the house. And I want to just say how grateful I am to everyone who's dropped by my office hours, who have taught me so much. Everybody's different backgrounds, and to be in a group of people who are of from 11 to 111 years of age, and who bring all that experience to bear on our discussions has been amazing. And I want to say thank you and just express my gratitude to Al and Laney for allowing this to be. And I also want to say how excited I am about Al's coming book on citizen poetics and the democratic ever-emergent collaboration of ModPo. Do you know, when's it coming out?
I'm sending it to my editor probably in 2 weeks, so
Okay.
I would say next fall.
Yeah, that'll be...
If anybody wants to read a chapter, you just reach out to me by email. I will send you a draft chapter.
Great. Yeah, I've read a chapter and it's brilliant.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
I'm so excited about it.
Yes. Yeah, so I guess I'm thinking about how ModPo intervenes in our political life and our communal lives, and that just the way that ModPo is made out of language through like the words I'm speaking now, and it's a gathering around language, so it's a double circle of language. And I'm grateful to language for its flexibility and capacity for endless built-in ability to mutate unpredictably, and that mutation and flexibility is, I think we need to keep in mind, it has a built-in capaciousness that is, so the mutation of language is a way to protect, it's a protection against language's mutilation. And I think through our discussions, we also get a sense of what an incredibly volatile and powerful tool language is, that we, through our close readings of it, kind of gain the capacity to bear responsibly. And I think of English, because I've always felt like, well, ModPo's global reach is in part a fact of English's problematic global reach. But if we think of English and ModPo as a mashup of incoming languages and an ongoing arrival of new speakers, and in ModPo we have such a global community and many people who are multilingual speakers who bring to the conversation a sense of English as one language among many others. And I've been thinking a lot about Emily Dickinson's handwritten poem scripts, and especially the mark that she makes, that's not a word, but that's throughout, and that how ambiguous it is as both a dash, kind of moving from one thing to another, and a hyphen, and thinking about a hyphenated being, and how it's not that we are separate, we are individual people, but we are kind of through hyphen. I'm reading from my computer screen because if I try to say this extemporaneously, I will end up on Mars. So just bear with me. So hyphens that are made of sound waves and light waves via which language travels allow us to be an ongoing collaboration between having Fred Waugh's poem from ModPo Plus in mind, collaboration between you and me. And that we can think of Emily Dickinson's hyphens, short marks of difference and connection, as something that reminds us of language being a community of hyphenate selves. So I just wanted to read the very beginning of Fred Waugh's poem in ModPo Plus, between you and me there is an I. And really thinking about how I, or the self, exists due to its social connection with others. It is one part of and is vulnerable to. So I urge everyone to stick with ModPo and build community. So just the beginning of that poem. Between you and me there is an I. Between two stools the hyphen lies, the eggs and the nest, the blind and the fold, the hinge of the city, the door and its jam, the map and its edges, the wars I've not fought, the life and its lease, the rope, but which end, the brink and disaster, the bank and the laughter, the spike below Chinaman's Peak, that spot where two rails meet.
I love that poem. Thank you. And I love your comments about what is essentially a linguistic immigration and emigration. Mm-hmm. We are open to all of it. Mm-hmm. Come on, linguistic immigrants. You have a place in ModPo. All right, we're going to turn to Chris Martin for a final word, then to Zach, then to Magda, then to Maya, then to Laney, then to Al. Chris. Al, that would be me.
Oh, yeah. That Al. April 2012, we were presented with a completely blank, empty Coursera course. Just think about that. That's crazy. There was nothing in it. It was blank, empty slate. There was no syllabus. There were no videos. There wasn't a student, a quiz. There wasn't a course description. There wasn't even a title to the course yet. We didn't know what it was going to be exactly called. We had ideas. That's just so insane to me. I had that realization earlier in this iteration of ModPo. It was at one point just a blank canvas. And to think back on that is insane. We got an email. All we had was an email from Daphne Kohler, the co-founder of Coursera and Pangway Co., part of the tech team there. Here's your course URL. Log in, look around. We start poking around and trying to figure out what the heck we're doing. Al and I, lots of hours at the screen and keyboard. And the crazy thing was, not only were we building out the course, Coursera was still building out Coursera, the platform itself. It was being developed in real time as we were getting ready to gear up for this.
Building
this
the
launch.
plane while flying it.
Seriously, we're assembling different parts of the motor as we're in the air. And up until I saw an email, 10 hours from now we're launching and our captions aren't working and the module for quizzes isn't right, and all sorts of little details that we kind of don't think about as much anymore because we've been up and running for a while. And I'm not sure why we did this, but we decided we were going to launch at midnight on Monday, September 10th, 2012. And we're sending emails back and forth between Philly and Mountain View at 10 p.m. and 11 p.m. and then midnight and then 1 a.m. We're still sending emails back and forth. And we got the thing launched and off and running. And flash forward here, 2024, we now have 2,184 items in the course between ModPo, ModPo Plus, Teacher Resource Center, the CCCR, and that's thanks to everybody who's part of this community, all the students who showed up that day that we launched September 10th, 2012. all your enthusiasm and interest has really obviously propelled this forward. That's why we have so much material now. And I'm just grateful for that, everybody's enthusiasm and participation. It really spurs us on, and it's the most meaningful part of my job here at Penn. I do a lot of other things, but I love doing this the most. So.
Oh, Chris.
And I mean that. I really do. It's so
Wow.
much fun. We get to use tech for teaching and a global audience of learners and community, and just we bring together so many people. I love it. And I want to shout out my fellow tech comrades. Nobody experiences ModPo and Coursera quite like we do. And I love working with both of you too, Zach and Magda. We logged a lot of hours and miles in the car this year. Magda, I totaled it up, you and I specifically, 1,500 miles over the course of 27 hours. And it's just been a tremendous amount of fun. Zach, you once again nailed the packing list for Montreal and didn't forget a single adapter. And I can't thank you enough for that, because seriously, sometimes like the tiniest thing can throw everything off. So I appreciate your attention to detail as ever. So
Chris Martin, everyone. Oh man, I'm sure that here come the comments in the comment stream. Everybody loves Chris. Oh boy, give the mic to Zach, and I just want to say something about Chris very briefly. Yeah, I mean, Chris has been called upon to present about these webcasts, which are basically a 6-ring circus, very hard to pull off, kludgy and weird and hacked, but we do it. And you are truly an expert in this, Chris. There isn't another massive open online course that is doing this, and it's largely because of your crazy inventiveness, and also that of Zach Gardner, who is up next. Hello, Zach.
Hello. Yeah, I was thinking a bit about what final words I wanted to say today, and I am just not in a very word-producing state of mind. So I am going to read. One of the fun parts of my job is that I do get to watch the comment stream as it comes in. So I'm going to cede some of my time to some of the comments that I've been collecting today, just because I wanted to make sure they got shouted out. So I'm just going to read a few comments.
Please.
So Sanjeev says, shout out and big hugs to Anthony Watkins, CTA exemplar. Laura Littman says she got in the car Saturday and found that her daughter had left a copy of Stevens's 13 Ways of Looking at a Blackbird and almost burst into tears of happiness. Jane Ward says her final thought is that ModPo continues to keep me balanced with the community here, and every year I become more comfortable with the poems. I love all of the TAs and community members I interact with. Aiden Hunt, I was dealing with aging parents moving into assisted living last year. I hope ModPo helped balance you this year like it did me. Tiza Cheo says, I've started ModPo last year, and this is my first time I managed to attend a live session. I'm still at week 6 of the beats. I'm taking my time exploring ModPo Plus and beyond. Thanks to all of you. T. De Los Reyes says, hi all, just wanted to say hi, it's quite late where I am. Might not be able to stay long, but I want to say that I love ModPo so much, and I'm happy to be with this community for the past decade. Mike Barrett says, it's energizing to be in a place that supports and encourages a diversity of strategies. I have 2 more. Barbara says, Allison B. introduced me to Terry and Meredith, and they all encouraged me to try ModPo. I am very grateful. I am most grateful for the lovely people that I have met over the last 4 years. And Vron McIntyre says, this has been my first time sticking with ModPo through the whole 10 weeks. It's been quite an experience. It's turned out to be so much more than I'd imagined. So,
Thank you, Zach. And while the mic is passing to Magda, I just want to second the shout out to Sanjeev Naik, who is really handling the 10,000 plus person Facebook group. Sanjeev, you do amazing work daily, basically, on that group. And you know, how many 10,000 plus person Facebook groups succeed? Can you imagine? Facebook in 2024? Crazy, but it's there. And Anthony Watkins, who's struggling with health issues, but is always there to put in Hopelessly Lost every week. And we know that you are not hopelessly lost. Anthony, thank you. All right, let's go to Magda, then to Laney, then to Al, and then we're wrapping up. Hello, Magda.
Hello. Well,
As you may know, this is my first year on the tech team here. And I've been thinking about how many different things I've had to learn this year. So first of all, obviously the tech elements, but I've also been going through the course and exposing myself to all the poems, many of which I was not familiar with. And also just getting to know everyone involved in this room, in Montreal, online, elsewhere. And I'm just, meditating, I guess, on how many things come together to make this up. And I am thinking, was it Suzanne on the phone who said that she saw some vines and thought of ModPo? I think
it was like a steel box in a swamp.
Yeah, well, I feel like I keep thinking that there's a very particular texture to this course of sort of order and disorder, or form and things beyond form, many things coming together, held in one shape somehow, and how important that is in our world. I mean, I think creating a container in which we can all bring things that escape any container is something that is done here. And yeah, that's my final thought.
Thank you, Magda. Welcome to the team. We love having you with us. Laney Brown, final thoughts, then me, and stick around because I'm actually going to end by singing.
Yay.
What the?
Oh my goodness.
I could use some help.
My thoughts are so disorderly right now. I have all these notes, but I wanted to say that reading all the comments in the final words, it was just kind of overwhelming with emotion. Everybody in the room, the team, all the work we've done together. It's just been really remarkable and wonderful, and a help with the darkness surrounds us. I want to say thanks to Erica for reading from Lynn, who has been very much on my mind all the time. I wanted to give a shout out about Tyrone Williams, who Al mentioned the events. We didn't spend time talking about Tyrone's work, but Tyrone was such an amazing poet and just such an excellent person in every way, who we lost much too early. So spend some time with his work. Wonderful. And come to the readings or watch the recordings after the fact. I wanted to thank everybody that came to my office hours. It was truly a party. I mean, we just had such a good time. And somebody also said today, I can't remember who, that the webcasts just get better and better. And I think that's true. I think every webcast has just been so much
Crazy,
fun, right? Fabulous. So
We let ourselves go.
yeah, I want to thank everyone for that. And then finally, something that stood out to me in the final words last night were Denny used the phrase a state of poetry forest, and Vijaya talked about ModPo as a forest of delights. And I can guess you're going to guess where I'm going with this. I'm going to the Poetry State Forest, which is a book by Bernadette Mayer, and I want to read the last poem in the book. But before I do, I just want to tell a short anecdote about what is the Poetry State Forest, because the Poetry State Forest, I believed before there was a book and before Bernadette wrote the book, and there was talk of the Poetry State Forest, I thought it was really a national park. I really thought that it was. And then I went to visit Bernadette, and we went to the Poetry State Forest, and there was a chair that her kids had decorated. There was a creek, and there was her dog Hector like playing, and and I realized like, oh, it actually is real, even if it's not official. Just like the difference between official verse culture and what we're doing here. So this is the last poem in the Poetry State Forest. It's called The Complete introductory lectures on poetry, and it's dedicated to Ted Berrigan. It was when the words on the covers of the books, titles as true as false leaves, led me to believe in inviting the ultimate speculation of love, that I could learn all of the subject, that I first began to entertain what is sublime. Like a moth, I thought, by reading jokes and their relations to the unconscious, or Beyond the Pleasure Principle, or Eat the Weeds, or The Origin of the Species, or even a book on coup d'etat or the problem of anxiety, I could accomplish all the knowledge the titles implied. Science that there is often more in the notes on the back of a discarded envelope, grammar in the shadows slanted on the wall of the too bright night to verify the city light, and then awakening babies to turn and make notes on the dream's public epigrams and one's own weaknesses. Self that's prone to epigrammatic ridicule, and to meditate on fears of all the animal dangers, plus memories of reptilian appellations for all our stages of learning to swim at a past day camp. It is to think this or that might include all or enough to entertain all those who already know that in this century of private apartments, though knowledge might be coveted, hardly anything is shared except penurious poetry, she or he who still tends to titles, as if all of us are reading a new book called The New Life.
The New Life. I love that. Laney Brown, everyone. Yeah. There's snaps all across the time zones right now. Laney, you're the best. I'm going to conclude with the shortest poems and a song, short few lines of a song. First, there's Bob Creeley, a kind of a downer. Then there's Sid Corman. It could be a downer. It could also be an invitation to stay in the room with each other. And then there's Bob Dylan, sung by me, yikes. First, Creeley, in honor of how down we feel. Here's Bob.
I know a man. As I said to my friend, because I am always talking, John, I said, which was not his name, the darkness surrounds us. What can we do against it, or else shall we? And why not buy a goddamn big car? Drive, he said, for Christ's sake, look out where you're going.
I don't know how you read that, but I read that as, I don't know what we should do or where we're going, so maybe we should just go. And maybe this is not an up note, or maybe it's a continuation of a down note, but this is Sid telling us that what really counts is just being there.
All right. It isn't for want of something to say, something to tell you, something you should know, but to detain you, keep you from going, feeling myself here as long as you are, as long as you are.
As long as you are. And finally, the chorus of I Shall Be Released. Max, I don't know if you could, there's too much latency for you to sing with me. Yeah, too bad, because you could do the harmony. So this is, my voice is terrible right now, but whatever. This is it, signing off after Dylan. Here we go. I seen my life come shining through, from the west down to the east. Any day now, I shall be released. That's it, everybody. It's a wrap. See you in Slow-Po. Take care.